Welcome to the Western Union overview of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, referred to throughout this video as the Dodd-Frank Act. This video will give you an introduction of how Western Union is working with you to meet the Dodd-Frank Act requirements. So what does the Dodd-Frank Act mean for you? The Dodd-Frank Act is an additional opportunity for us to inform our consumers when they send money from the United States through Western Union to anywhere else in the world. To continue this commitment, Western Union is modifying a few of the steps you'll take during transactions and when consumers need help with post-transaction issues. The first of these steps takes place within the transaction process flow. You'll need to provide pricing and fee information in writing to the consumer before they pay for the transaction. Then, after you collect the funds for the transaction, you'll provide a final receipt before the consumer leaves the counter. The other steps apply if the consumer needs help after the initial transaction. Let the consumer know about their cancellation and refund options and then process accordingly. You are there to assist the consumer through the resolution process should they need to resolve any transaction issues. It is very important to note that you need to help them directly. Do not direct the consumer to call Western Union. So here's how this will work when you have a Western Union consumer interaction. Maria comes into your agent location in New York City and wants to send some money home to her family in Chile. She is ready to start the transaction. The new flow within the Western Union point-of-sale system will start with a printout of the pre-transaction disclosure statement, also known as the PDS. Remember, the PDS is not a receipt. You will still need to print a receipt. When you give Maria the PDS, it's important that you ask her to review the information. This is to ensure that she understands the fees and that all of the information is correct. Be prepared to explain the items on the PDS so that Maria may decide whether or not she wants to continue with the transaction. Once Maria reviews the PDS, ask her if the information is correct and if she wants to continue with the transaction. If her answer is yes, complete the transaction and collect the funds. The system will prompt you to print the final receipt. At this point, complete the transaction as you would normally. If Maria needs to change any information, reprint the PDS. Should she decide not to continue, you will cancel the transaction. You must give the PDS to Maria, even if she decides not to complete the transaction. Note that if a consumer is just asking about pricing and has not completed a send money form or provided receive information, you do not need to print the PDS. But what if Maria has a problem with her transaction? First, Maria may go to any Western Union agent location to get help with these issues, regardless of where she completed her initial transaction. If Maria asks you to help her with a transaction issue, do this while she is still at your location. There are a few steps you will need to follow before starting the transaction. First, for non-financial changes, ask Maria if she would like to continue the transaction and make the changes, or if she would like to cancel the transaction and receive a refund. Remember, non-financial changes may include changing the spelling of the receiver's name or changing the test question. Make sure you note Maria's response in the system and do as she requests. Second, if you are not able to help resolve Maria's issue, you have two choices. Your first option is to navigate within the Western Union point-of-sale system and submit the issue. The second option requires that you call Western Union directly to submit the issue. You must also call us directly when it is a change to financial information, such as non-payment of a claim or a fee refund request. Again, Maria must be able to tell you about her issue and should not be directed to call Western Union. Under the Dodd-Frank Act, you are the consumer's advocate and need to help them solve the issue while they are at your agent location. There are a few additional key issues you need to be aware of should Maria ask to cancel and get a refund for her previous transaction. Maria may make her request within 30 minutes of completing the transaction. If the transaction has not been picked up, Maria will typically get her principal, fees, and taxes refunded. Use the Western Union point-of-sale system or the Western Union call center to assist you with this process. Before processing the cancellation or refund, you'll need to make sure that the transaction is still in the system and has not been paid out. Remember, it must also be within 30 minutes from the time of the actual transaction. Then you will process the cancellation and the refund accordingly. If a consumer ever asks for their consumer rights or the long-form error rights notice, you must provide them with this information. To do this, go into the Western Union point of sale system and print off a copy of the notice. You may also call Western Union directly to request that the notice be sent to the consumer. This is something you must do on the consumer's behalf versus asking the consumer to call Western Union. So let's review. You are the key to ensuring these steps take place as we continue our commitment to great service. This includes: Number 1. Print the pre-transaction disclosure statement that provides price and fee information to the consumer before they pay for the transaction. 2. Provide the consumer with a final receipt. 3. Help the consumer with any issues they may have with their transaction. This includes canceling or refunding the transaction or logging the error with Western Union for resolution. And 4. Upon request, provide the consumer with a statement of their error resolution rights. Thank you for your continued excellent service and for helping Western Union inform our consumers.